Okay, now we're going to put it all together here. We're going to solve this quadratic equation using a process called complete the square. Okay, so we look at this problem right here, and what we want to do is the very first thing we want to do is we're always going to move this c term to the other side. Sometimes it'll already be over here. In this problem, we need to move the 8 to the other side first. That's our first step. Okay, we're making room so we can complete the square like we showed in the last video. Okay, so let's subtract 8 on both sides. So what we have left, now watch how I write this. This is important how you write this out. Where this 8 and negative 8 canceled out, we're going to put a blank in there. Make sure you put a blank in there, right there. Okay, equals, and then 0 minus 8 is negative 8. And we're also going to put a blank on the right side of the equation. The reason we need to have two blanks is we're going to add a number in right here, but we need to keep our equation balanced. So if we add a number into the left side, we also need to put it on the right side. Okay, now think back to the last video. What number goes in our blank? Okay, remember the pattern was half of our b term, so half of 6 is 3, square it. 3 squared is 9. Okay, remember this number should always be a perfect square. Okay, now if we added 9 to this side, we can't have our unbalanced equation, so we need to add 9 to the other side as well. Okay, now we can do a little math here. If we look at the right side, negative 8 plus 9, well, negative 8 plus 9 is just 1. The left side, we're going to do like we saw in the last video. We're going to write this in factored form. So we're going to think of how can we factor that. So if we want to use the x method, we can put 9 on top, 6 on bottom. We know that 3 times 3 equals 9. 3 plus 3 equals 6. That works. Okay, so this was called factored form. The way we're going to write this, it's going to be x plus 3 squared. Okay, now we're super close. This should look really familiar. This is what we did last week, right? This is how we're going to solve this for x. But the 3 is trapped because it's squared. So remember how we undo the squared. If we square root both sides, the squared and the square root, remember those cancel out. So we have x plus 3 is equal to the square root of 1. Well, we know 1 times 1 is 1. But remember, if we squared a positive number, we need both the positive and the negative 1. And then we're going to split and solve. X plus 3 equals 1. X plus 3 equals negative 1. And we got a couple one-step equations. If we subtract 3 on both sides here, we get x equals negative 2. And if we subtract 3 over here, we have x equals negative 4. Okay, we have our two answers. We solved this problem using completing the square. We could plug either of these numbers in for x, and both of them are going to work. Okay. So there's one example. Again, make sure you pause, write these examples down, use these to help you on your homework. Let's do 2 more examples here. Okay, let's try x squared minus 4x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so again, we want to solve this quadratic equation using completing the square. First step is always move our c term. We need to make space so we can complete the square. Subtract 2 on both sides. X squared minus 4x plus blank. Those blanks are important. Equals negative 2. Put another blank over here so we remember to fill those in. Okay, our pattern. Half of b, half of negative 4 is negative 2. Square it. 2 squared is 4. If we add 4 over here, we have to add 4 over here to keep it balanced. Okay. Now, right side, negative 2 plus 4, well, that's just positive 2. Left side, we want to write it in factored form. So if we think of how can we factor this, okay, if you're familiar, if you're good at using the x method, let's use it. Negative 4 on the bottom, so we know 2 and 2 works, but it's got to get to a negative 4, so we know those 2's have to be negative. Right, because 2 negatives equal a positive when we're multiplying, they equal negative when we're adding. So if we were to write this in factored form, it's x. Since we have 2 negative 2's here, it's negative 2 squared. And then we're back to our old problems. Solve for x. The negative 2's trapped. Let's untrap it by square rooting both sides. So we have x minus 2 is equal to the square root of 2. We don't know the square root of 2, right? It's a decimal. But remember, let's leave it as a radical, but let's put our plus and minus out front because it's the square root of a positive number. So we know we're going to get 2 answers. So now if we split it, we have x minus 2 equals positive square root of 2. X minus 2 equals negative square root of 2. And when we finish this, we know we have to add 2 to both sides. So we have 2 plus the square root of 2. And if we add 2 over here, we have x equals 2 minus the square root of 2. Okay, and there's our 2 answers there. Okay, again, pause it, write that down, rewind it if you have questions. Let's do one more. Okay. This one's going to be set up a little differently, but we're going to use the same process. Okay, so let's go ahead and write this down. We have x squared plus 4x minus 18 equals 3. Okay, a little different here. Now we have a number on the right, and that's okay. Same steps here. Let's move the 18 over. We need to make a space to complete the square. Let's add 18. So we have x squared plus 4x. This is where our blanks come in, plus blank equals, add those up, 21 plus blank. Don't forget your blanks. We got to add that number to both sides. Half of the middle number, half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. If we add 4 over there, we have to add 4 over here. Now, if we look at the right side, 21 plus 4, let's take care of that right away. That's 25. Left side, factored form. Okay, well, what multiplies to 4 and adds to 4? We know that's 2, right? 2 and 2. So we're going to use x plus 2 squared. And again, if we have to check that with our x method, the 4 is on top and on bottom. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. And that works. Okay, almost done. Now we need to solve for x. Let's square root both sides. Those cancel. X plus 2 equals square root of 25. It's a positive and a negative 5. Don't forget the plus and minus because we have 2 answers. Split it. So we have x plus 2 equals positive 5. X plus 2 equals negative 5. And we're going to solve. Subtract 2, we get x equals 3. Subtract 2, we get x equals negative 7. Both of those answers would work if we were to plug them in. So that is solving quadratic equations by using completing the square. Okay, make sure you email if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.